when I told my dad I wanted to, you know, get into fashion, he was not very happy. But the thing that turned him was I basically said, when I wake up and go to work, I'll be happy. And he's like, okay, that's all parents want. You know, they want their child to be happy.
When I came up with this idea, you were one of the first people that came to mind that I wanted to speak with. Because for as long as I've known you, which is coming on to almost 25 years now,
Yeah.
since early high school,
Yeah.
you've always been someone who is very unconventional, but at the same time, very relatable.
Okay.
It's one of those things where you've always seemed to do things different as a whole with every step along the way, but yet when you break it all down, you can really understand, and like those pieces, you can almost see yourself having those similar kind of moments or those experiences as well. Has that ever crossed your mind?
Well, but it's always interesting to hear how other people perceive you because you really never know.
Yeah.
You know, you have an idea of who you are and what you want to do, and this image of yourself in your head. But it's always very different to, I think, what the reality is. And excuse me. Not like I just in my mind I do things based off what makes sense at any given moment, like what's the best move for my position and with all the factors accounted for, you know. And that's the dynamic thing that can change. My move today, given where I am now, it could be very different to next week because a lot of factors are moving.
That could be the element of like things being unconventional, where you're not necessarily going to be stubborn and set in your ways, that you can pivot and you can move with things, and that's absolutely true. Like if I look back and seeing you from 15 through till now, you can see that there's been this progression and a changing, and a lot of growth.
Well, that's also, I think that's because one, I can pivot so easily because for good or bad, I don't have, you know, some people kind of have a life plan and they set up the goals and A, B, C, these are the markers I've got to hit. I've never had a plan where, like, this is where I want to be. I want to be, you know, successful A, B, or C. I never had this. I'm just walking in this direction and then I'm trying to have a vague goal of what I want to do and then move towards that. Whereas some people, like every Sunday, they will sit down before the start of the week and these are the tasks I need to achieve.
The KPIs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't do that, which is good and bad. Like there are pros and cons to, you know, most things. I'm not so regimented and regulated.
Because you came from like we from our high school that there's big emphasis on academics, and there's not enough. So for us, the creative types, and there's been actually quite a lot of success stories coming out from our high school that didn't of individuals that didn't pursue academics, that went into had their own creative pursuits.
Yeah.
And they just did it off their own back. A lot of it was came post high school, as in they weren't endeavours that they were seeking during those years.
Yeah.
And then afterwards, they're like, "Fuck this! That's not what I want to do at all." And yeah, you were one of them.
Yeah.
So you started off in science. Like, what was where was that moment? Was there a moment where there was like, I can't do this. This isn't it.
Yeah, it was just the passion wasn't there. Like, you know, growing up in a very typical Asian household, I would say, there was a lot of focus on academics, math, science, because that's the easiest way to forge a safe, you know, relatively wealthy career. And I always thought very logically. I just got to a stage where I don't know. I remember when I told my dad I wanted to, you know, get into fashion, he was not very happy. But the thing that turned him was I basically said, when I wake up and go to work, I'll be happy. And he's like, okay, that's all parents want. You know, they want their child to be happy.
Yeah, it's a tough one to understand, us being raised here in Australia and having the opportunities that we have had, and there's that a bit of the paradox. Like our parents immigrated from Asian countries, came here wanting to give us, I don't know, I guess maybe, I don't want to say easier life,
Like more secure
life.
Yeah.
What wasn't really maybe on their agenda was having the freedom and having all these options and having unconventional, in their eyes, unconventional career pursuits or life pursuits. That it wasn't anything that they anticipated. And for whatever reason, well, I mean, we know exactly what the reasons are, why that they would have in mind the doctor, whether it be in medical, or sometimes in a lawyer, anything that's going to bring financial success was always up the top.
And I think that's the mindset is like, if you have the security of wealth, then that covers a lot of bases. Then you have the freedom to search for happiness
Through wealth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, whereas, you know, this is the fact that it is a luxury and a privilege that we can explore things for happiness as part of our job, whereas they
couldn't.
They didn't have that choice.
Yeah.
You know, like they came and it was about providing security, providing shelter and a better life. And they've achieved that because instead of us kind of going out and doing a job that we don't like, we're secure enough to go, hey, I can
do whatever I want. Yeah.
I can pursue something.
They probably never really had the concept of fulfillment. There was not anything that they understood.
Mm.
You know, for them, work was very much work. It was just hard shit you had to do to make the rest of life work.
Yeah, and we like I said, I think we're lucky enough that isn't like, if we need it, I can go out and get a 9 to 5 and just grind away.
Yeah.
And, you know, carve out a living. But I'm trying to do something where it doesn't feel like a living.
I read in the article that was ABC.
Yeah.
Did about you a couple of years ago.
Yeah, that was done by Vi. Shout out to Vi. Thanks.
Yeah, you said that your dad wanted you. His aversion to you pursuing fashion was that he wanted you to have a stable life.
Yeah.
Right. Like I remember that seeing that word. It was quite specific. It was stable. I'm just wondering, with that generation, what is it about stability that is so appealing?
Well, I'm just guessing, but, you know, so my family fled after the war. There was, and then coming to a country that they didn't know the language too well. They didn't have a network. So when my dad came over, he was by himself with my mum and my sisters. So it's, you know, not knowing, could he get a job? Not knowing, could he get shelter? Not knowing, you know, there were a lot of times where I grew up very poor. So, you know, sometimes the heating wasn't on. So it's the stability when you're in that environment seems like the dream.
Just to not have
to worry.
Yeah, to not have to worry.
Yeah, to know that the lights will always be on, the heating will always be on, there will always be food. We're never going to get kicked out of home. You know, that would appeal to someone that never had that, and that's
No, the reason I bring that up is because you look at, you're telling me of your parents, that your dad's his journey, and it was by no means stable. But in contrast, you look at the success that he's been able
Yeah.
to garner from things not being stable.
Yeah.
Right. Like, it's one of the things that I think that, you not having, you would have stability in some regards, but it is the intentional maneuver to destabilize things is what eventually got you to where you are now.
Yeah. Definitely. Like my father has been a great role model. He's made many sacrifices and did a lot of things, and he's come, like I said, an immigrant, and he's raised a big family. Owns his own home, runs a successful business. So he's done amazing things to give me the opportunity that.
Oh, for sure. And all that came from not having stability. It's like having to
Well,
having that adversity to be able to
that's what you strive for. Was like Maslow's pyramid of needs or whatever. The first few things are security and safety.
safety.
So that was like his role, and now like he's given us that, and now I'm in a position that I can go up another level, and now I can do things to pursue enjoyment, because I'm relatively secure and safe in the things
You got
I
you got
need.
you got that foundation
Yeah.
set. With when you went to fashion, was suit making always, was that the
That kind of, yeah, when I remember going into, because before I started, I never had done anything creative. So before I got into kind of TAFE, I had to do a short course of how to draw, how to do basic sewing, how to design. And I'd never done that because I was brought up in an environment where it's math science. The things that there's a definitive answer, numbers make sense. And so that creative muscle was not strong in when I started. And then did a few short courses, got an interview to go to TAFE, and I remember in the interview, like, what do you want to do? I'm like, I am very good with detail, so I want to become a tailor. That's kind of where I knew actually fairly early on. And also I just think I like the style, I like the detail, like being finicky, but also it was, without knowing it, I probably did it because I was hedging my bets, I guess. Like everyone, when they get into fashion, I think most people's end game is, I want to be a world famous designer. But like with any field, any profession, it's only the top 1% or whatever that really kind of make it.
yeah, if that.
Yeah. And with design, it's the problem with anything creative and, in fashion is, I know what I like and what I think looks good, but you can't account for taste. Like the general public, their taste is, it ebbs and flows, and it's very hard to predict. Whereas a suit is a suit.
Timeless.
Yeah.
Almost.
Yeah. And the hardest part about a suit is making it fit so it has a great silhouette and good shape, yeah.
So I mean, yeah, for sure, it's a staple in anyone's wardrobe. But you see, like, over time, the decades and how the fit and the cut is different. So there is like a template of what a suit should be, but then just whatever other influences will dictate how that's worn and the fit of it.
Exactly, and that's always been the case, and it comes and goes. Fashion's cyclical.
Yeah, the baggy pants that are coming back.
Well, there are oversizes coming back, so
Yeah.
a lot of women on the red carpet will be wearing specifically oversized suits, where it's kind of, when you're a kid and you're
And
wearing
jackets as well, oversized jackets.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, everything is kind of oversized, where you wear, your dad's, when you're a child, your dad's coat, and like it's that, but slightly more trendy. When you're wearing your dad's jacket, it's just big everywhere. He has a bit of shape, but it's intentionally big. So, and that's with fashion. Everyone tries to be innovative, but with suiting that a suit's a suit. You can tweak it here and there, and it's just how you wear it.
You came in at a real interesting time as well with your suit making, because when you started off making suits,
Yep.
you targeted business women.
Yep. That was the idea, because the idea was they'd be buying 2-3 suits year on year out, like every year. They'll need to refresh your wardrobe. But you're right. I did when I started. It was during the same-sex referendum, and then that went through. And
That timing was incredible.
it was lucky. Like my timing was lucky. And yeah, I had a massive boost with women wearing suits to get married.
Yeah, so you already had that. Your business was set up specifically for women, and there was a lot of conversation at the time about just, I guess, like the gender roles and responsibilities, especially in the workplace. Like it was really starting to heat up around about the time when Isadora Nim was coming up as well. And so the timing of that seemed to work really well. But more than just that, it wasn't just, you weren't doing it for trying to capture a market. You know, you see that the way that, you know, we've spoken about your business, that there is an underlying purpose and values that comes through all of it as well.
Yeah, definitely. So during that period, you know, I don't think there was anyone else doing what I was doing specifically. Well, you know, women. There were men's labels out there that some of my clients have gone to and then came to me subsequently, saying it was just a different experience. And with most women, most women don't get something made for them specifically until they get a wedding dress made. Whereas men can go out and get suits kind of whatever day of the week they want. And so it was a very new experience for a lot of women to have that. And it was fun. And also the kind of lent in. I've been surrounded by a lot of strong women in my life. And I think that's one of the reasons that subconsciously I did that as well, to
Just to give them something.
Yeah.
And you're feeding off them as well.
Yeah, and it was very empowering for them and myself, because when I started, when a lot of the same sex mark came to me, like a lot of women came to me, they were very thrilled at the experience they received, because that's not something they've
true, actually.
experienced before. And also there was the fact that I solely catered to women made the daunting task of kind of getting something made for the first time less daunting.
Yeah, it was for them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it wasn't as we do men's suiting. Oh, okay, we'll cater for you as we'll kind of.
Yeah.
It wasn't a side thought or an afterthought. It was, done with women in mind.
Yeah, with purpose. What would you say would be the difference in your approach to both the experience and also just to the final product? What would be the biggest differences between how you cater for women versus how any other tailor that's making specific men's suits? I've had that experience of getting a suit made. I've enjoyed that. I really did.
It's a very novel experience, and you do leave. It is a luxury experience,
Yeah.
You're going there, you're someone's measuring you, you're picking your fabrics, you're customizing your suit. It feels luxurious, and it feels, it's exciting.
So what, are you taking the experience that has traditionally been for men, businessmen, most of the time, businessmen, grooms, taking that experience and then just going one for one and targeting and providing that towards women? Or is there anything that is not even substantially, but just subtly differences? What would be the differences in that experience? Or is
I guess I cater and I try to make the experience like I said before, less daunting. And it's, I don't know how to word this. I try to make them feel very relaxed and safe, you know, because I do cater for non-binary people as well. And when they come in, it's a lot of the times they're concerned about the service they get and the environment. So I try to make that environment as
something inviting and safe.
Yeah. So that everyone can relax and there's no fear. And one of the ways I do that is I go to people's homes or work and where they know their environment and it's they're much more at ease. And then I don't know, make it as enjoyable as possible. Try to make it stress-free, relatively straightforward, quick. It's just a pleasant experience.
You find that there's much of a difference between the clientele, between men and women clients?
Yeah, a little. Men generally with fashion are much easier. Let's take away the body shape. Like it's
less about the details.
Yeah, and with a lot of, you know, I was doing men's suiting before I was doing women's, and with a lot of men, you take a few measurements, they come in, they wear the suit, and you're like, you look great because of A, B, and C, and they walk out, they're all happy.
Cool, done.
Yeah, there's no, that's it, transaction done. Whereas with women, they're much more in tune with their bodies. I wouldn't say all are fashionable, but like, you know, in general,
they know how to highlight it a little bit better.
Yeah,
well?
so in general, men would, you know, you tell them they look good, they'll be on the way. With women, you tell them they look good, they're like, great, you done A, B, and C, but you didn't do X, Y, and Z. You know, so they're much more in tune with what they want, their bodies, and what they want to highlight and hide or with their outfits. And I think that's just a product of years and years of women being judged on how they look. Whereas a lot of the times, a lot of things that, you know, the rare few is like someone invents or creates something that is just a paradigm shift and then it shifts and then goes from there. Where most things are just the tweaking of things already exist and put it into a new environment or, you know, just so it has a different spin. You know, like I'm not the fucking first tailor to be making women's suits. What I've done is made it affordable, accessible, easy, and very specific. So instead of, you know, before, when I started, one of the hard things was that women didn't search for tailors. They searched for dressmakers. So it took a lot of women a lot of effort to actually find me because that's historically not what they searched for.
Yeah, and they wouldn't even know to look for that.
Exactly, and now that's changing because it is becoming more complex. When women went out and bought a suit, they bought off the rack. And then the issue with that was not only are you limited by whatever's in season that year, you know, whatever's in fashion that season, whether it's you're limited by the colours or whatever the designer picks on that band picks. And then you add the extra layer of shape and body variances. Like
what
women,
are the chances of that going to fit?
And the way they grade in fast fashion is, you know, they add a couple of 2.5 centimeters to different body points and they go up or go down.
Yeah,
and like
there's one shape.
And then that assumes you're, you know, you grow or shrink in proportion, which is bullshit. Or, you know, women come to me because they say, I've got a big bust, but I've got small everywhere else. I'm in a small frame. So if they get anything that fits their bust, they're wearing a big Hessian sack. It's like shapeless.
Less so for men, right? But like it would be amplified for women. But even like for men, I can't buy off the rack. Man, I've got like short arms, you know, a larger chest, short, and then if I've got to get like a bigger jacket, then I've got to get the pants to match, and then I've got short legs.
And that's, you know, like you said, amplified in the women's space. And then from there is like, well, options are limited, styles are limited, fit is limited, and then they're dropping more on, you know, a branded label where they're probably dropped the same with me getting something custom made, and that was never a thing. And that's where innovation comes in. Like, a lot of innovation isn't a grand idea that changes the world. It's just putting it in a different environment or different market or tweaking a few things and then opening up to a whole new field. Yeah.
Yeah, and then a matter of them becoming more accustomed to that as well. Then
Yeah, it's about
realize like, oh, we can do this.
yeah, it's about knowledge. And when they come to me for the first time, a lot of people are nervous. I've never done this before, but I walk them through and they leave and oh, this has been fantastic. Didn't know this was an option. And so it's getting word out there that I existed was hard, but once it started happening, it was better. Once women knew like this is a viable option, a better option.
And it becomes normal, the new normal.
Yeah.
How much has word of mouth helped your business? Is that like the biggest marketing tool?
It is, especially in the same-sex market, because it's a small community.
Yeah, they all know each other.
Yeah, they go to the same weddings. I dress one woman for a wedding, and then I get word.
Yeah.
Word of mouth helps a lot. And at the start, that was the hardest thing, was to get my name out there. And then when you start, you don't have any money. So like I was doing all my Instagram and all my socials, which I hate and I'm very bad at. So it didn't have like a unifying theme and voice. So when you looked at my Instagram, it was a mishmash of things that I liked, and that there wasn't didn't see like a running purpose through it. You looked at it like this, it doesn't make sense, and that was a byproduct of not having the budget to do it. Got to a stage where, and you go through a fair few people that do social media, because you've got to find the right fit. And
yeah.
There are so many out
really read between your lines and be like, this is what we're trying to do here.
And there are so many people that do social media out there. And they all say the same thing. So it was very hard to find the right people. But through that, you learn. You learn what you want, who you want to work with. You hone your branding and the voice of your branding, because
it forces you to really think about it and to be more concise with how you operate.
Yeah. So, and then once I got to a stage where I could offload all that socials to someone else, I did, and it not only freed up my time, but it made the voicing of Isadora Nim more prominent, more concise.
Clearer.
Yeah, much clearer, which is something that took me a while to work out. There was a reason I was doing what I was doing. I loved it, and I want to empower women and give them an experience that they probably never had, and they should have, because it's kick-ass and they get something that fits, that looks great and very versatile. And not all women, that was for the corporate stuff, but not all women want to wear wedding dresses.
Yeah.
And finding out that, when they found me, it's
like, you can do this?
Yeah, and also rewarding and like nice that I was an outlet where a lot of women had so much reservation about trying to get a suit through men's suiting companies, because I've had a few that have gone there. It's like, I just felt uncomfortable the whole time, and they didn't know what they were doing, and it was just a bad experience all around. So they came to me, and it feels very rewarding when I hear kind of stories like that I'm providing a service that.
Yeah, you understand their predicament. You understand what is wrong, or what the market is lacking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
how important was it for you to when you left science and then when you went to study fashion? At that point, were you mindful of wanting to create a business that was going to have some social impact or even have some kind of purpose behind it?
No, but as this business has grown, I've slowly and gearing towards that. The view, as Isadora Nim has grown, and I've seen what this business can potentially do going forward, and especially I don't know at what point that the light kind of flicked in my head that I can turn it into something that not only promotes empowerment for women, but can be an active player in that. So it's still in the early phases of where I wanted to take this business, and the goal would be to employ a lot of women that wouldn't have the opportunity to find jobs, or women that would need things to be more flexible in their life. And I wanted to kind of incubate an environment where that's possible. So going forward, I'd like to, help.
It's coming at a good time as well, man, because if you have a look at post-COVID, I think a lot of people realise how much work and life balance, that the word balance is a necessity, and where a lot of jobs, a lot of roles were always had too much prominence in someone's life, to the point where you're working. Let's even call it a 9 to 5. You got your job, and which is taken up 8 hours conservatively. We'll say 8 hours of your day, but yet the rest of it has to be engineered around that. Like people would choose where they live based on where they work, their commute, how difficult it is to get to and from work, arrangements with picking up, dropping off their kids, how much time they can spend with their kids. And let's face it, man, a lot of people, they're not just working those hours, just the 9 to 5, right? It's extending beyond that. COVID comes around and everyone knew that was just, that 9 to 5 working in the office and coming home and then having to sort out the rest of your life, which is bullshit. It was completely out of balance. So having that flexibility forced upon workplaces just to say, we have to be flexible now. If we want to keep operating, we have to let people work from home and just get on with their shit.
Yeah.
And then, a lot of parents had to juggle their kids and work simultaneously. And then now, if you're opening up opportunities for women and mums to enter back into the workforce, whether it be, just having that flexibility and then having them being able to do something that has meaning for them as well. And it's not just, like you were saying, it's not just making suits. There is an underlying emotion with wearing a suit, right? And that empowerment, it's real. Like you actually feel good wearing a suit. And then having women come in to be able to bestow that onto other women, and then also having an opportunity to do that integrates with their life. It just makes sense. It just makes sense. So that's where we're at now. We're in that era.
And that's, I get different thrills from, I get women who I made wedding suits for, and then seeing them kind of wear their wedding suit when it's ready to take away. The joy is infectious. And then I get people that come in and then, they want to look good, but they also don't want their clothing to be a factor. So they might be in an environment where it's male dominated and they're a woman in there and they don't want to be judged on what they're wearing. They want to walk in and kind of blend with everyone else there and be judged on their skills and, what they can bring to the table. And so those women are very, just make me look the part. I don't want to, I don't want the suit to define me, but I want to look good in it and feel good. But I want people to oversee that, and I'm here to do whatever job they want to do. It's to be able to, and going back to saying how I was, I don't know, a place where there's a lot of support and empowerment is something I'm leaning towards, because I've been brought up by strong women and molded me, and I kind of want to replicate that.
Yeah, man. Yeah, for sure. So how does, like, with a lot of the creative people that I've spoken with over the years, there's always been this blending of work and life, how the values that you either learn from one area, it just automatically gets transferred. And you've just said that, you know, you've been raised by a lot of strong women. You've been surrounded by a lot of strong women throughout your life, and you know, for you to then take that experience and then those values and then to put it back in your business, how has this then, or has it come out from work and then been injected back into life?
I think it's just happened organically. Like I gravitated towards one suiting, and then got to a point where I was like, I know how I feel when I was wearing a suit, so I wanted to share that with a lot of women that didn't get the experience. So I did that, and then as I was doing it more and I was seeing the reactions I was getting, it reinforced that I was doing something good. I was onto a really good idea, and then, you know, that probably put a seed of creating a certain environment, and I think I did it without realizing I was doing it, and then it got to a point when I sat back and like, okay, this is what I built, and I built these unconsciously, but these are the roots that stemmed and made it into what it is. Because
there's been a lot you see in fashion, especially with some of the bigger brands that I guess they've been criticised for a lot of exploitation, of labour exploitation, and also with the fast fashion. That's something I'm particularly mindful of as well.
That's also something I kept in mind when I started this. I want these suits to last. I offer repairs, you know, and when I see clients, you know, when they're getting their first suit or whatever, I also offer, you know, they talk about all the other suits that they have and what works for them, or, you know, whether it's dying or falling apart, and I offer to fix those if they can be fixed, because I want these items to be used.
Yeah, I mean,
much
even
as long
beyond
as
that,
possible.
I think that let this, even, you know, there are a lot of brands these days that would be preaching on the durability of their garments and offering those, you know, like a lifetime repair guarantee. So there's all these underlying ethical values that have been injected into what we wear, and you know, it's kind of it's funny because, you know, it's represented, it's in that brand, right? So you're creating something that has these social considerations, and that is, excuse the pun, but it's like in the fabric of what it is that you guys are doing, and it's becoming something that is becoming more and more prominent. Like, people don't want to be associated, don't want to brandish or wear anything that is socially irresponsible.
Yeah, and that's, I think, the social awareness of customers out there is growing. They don't want to be involved in fast fashion if they can avoid it. And I think it's over time you kind of have different beliefs of what you want and what you're willing to partake in. And then women are out there wanting something that lasts, wanting something that can be fixed, and, you know, doesn't want something that will exploit cheap labor. So it's, I think it's growing, and I think that's better for the world, really.
No, 100%, man, 100%. It is one of those things that where, well, I mean, fast fashion, it's a big problem. But it is something that is very slowly getting addressed. I think just, you know, it just starts off with awareness, but also, you know, what I was saying is just the underlying values. Like, a lot of brands in fashion, they would speak of some of the values that they have as a company, as a brand, but also then do a lot of practices that will not necessarily align with that. And, you know, it's we're talking about, you know, for you, a big part of it would be empowerment of women. So, you know, we've said that, you know, you're putting on a suit and it's already feeling empowerment, but then, you know, you back that up also just with not just by creating a suit that does that, and that's inherent in the product, but the business itself does in every part of your practice. And like we've touched on this, we've spoken about your business like before recording this podcast. It is ingrained in what you guys do. It is the thing that propels and accelerates everything that you guys. It's a big driver behind it.
Yeah, and I hope that shows through with our Instagram, or when people go to the website. I hope that does show through that we have a strong belief in female empowerment. So it's nice you've noticed.
Man, it's for sure. And what surprises me is that there's not too many. There's really no one playing in this space.
Yeah, well, there are a few out there that are doing different things. It's becoming more of a market. Like I said, when I started, when it was this decade ago or whatever, I was the only one doing it for women, and that's changing now.
Yeah,
which is
thanks to you, I guess.
Yeah, hopefully. Or it's just such a big market that was always inevitable, I guess.
So to go back to what I was saying originally from the start was how there's, you do things unconventionally, but yet it's still very relatable. Unconventional in the sense that not many people would decide to jump ship from, you're on this path. There's momentum, straight from high school into uni, and having to then make the call and bail entirely. It seems like something that a lot of people should do, but not many people are willing to take that leap of faith.
I guess it comes down to your level of comfort when it comes to the unknown. I was at a stage where it occurred to me I could keep doing what I was doing and I'd be perfectly fine. But that's not what I wanted. I wanted more. I wanted to be fulfilled in what I was doing as a living. I wanted to be happier in doing that. And I didn't think that being a scientist was going to check those boxes. It would have given me, I guess, a secure and pleasant life. But nice would have been nice, I guess, is the way to put it. But I want more than nice.
Was there fear then it's easy to ask this question in retrospect that, that things have worked out, have worked out well. You have built a business that is fulfilling in so many ways, but this is just for the Pete of, 15 years ago, 20 years ago, even that, where was there fear in thinking, shit, there is no template for this?
No. Well, the fear, okay. I never had fear. The idea was good. I never had fear in that. I knew it was a good idea. I knew that it was needed. There was a market for it. The fear was in my ability to execute. I was going into areas that I didn't know what I was doing. The fashion side of things, that was not an issue. The crafting, that was not an issue. It was just, I've never run a business. The way my mind works is all over the shop. So being very regimented of how to kind of set up a business was a challenge. So that was the fear. But the idea itself I knew it was a good one. I knew that there'd be a massive market for women wanting a custom suit. So it was
just a matter of then starting to pave the way.
Yeah, you just make sure the choices you've made are the best ones. And the other thing is, if I could do my time again, what I'd do is lean on my friends more, or lean on my contacts more. There was a fear that, not that I would fail, but a fear of, for whatever reason, asking people for help when I needed it. I think I should have done that more and done that earlier, because I've got a lot of friends that are they have a lot of expertise in their field, and I should have tapped them on the shoulder and take them out to lunch or dinner and throw questions at them, get their advice, and that would have accelerated my growth. I think that would have also helped with the fear of execution. You know, that was my fear of, like, I don't know what I'm doing.
To lean on their experiences.
Yeah, to lean on their experience would have eased and made me more confident in going forward. So that's definitely something I would have changed.
Yeah, I think that's also something that is really prevalent in younger people, and same for me as well. Was you've got this mindset that you can do it on your own, and you probably can, and like you have, but you know, it's a lot easier to lean on other people that are also there to help.
Yeah.
Right, like it's that sense of community that we're all here to help each other, and that's something that, you know, I've learned much later in life, both ways as well, as in like to ask for it and then to also to receive that as well, just to be like, oh, okay, you know, I'm in a position that I can help someone share this, and I not up until, I guess, somewhat recently, relatively recently, I didn't appreciate that enough.
And that's exactly so. You said it goes both ways. So when you were, as I was, fearful of asking, but when someone came to me and was asking for advice, I was happily dishing it out. I was happy to help, and I should have realized that because I was doing that, other people would have, and that's the mentality that I should have, you know, employed or kept in mind, that people do want to help, especially your friends and family. They want to impart the knowledge and wisdom, and you just got to overcome the reasons that stop you from asking for help, which could be a multitude of things, like a fear of looking weak or failure or not knowing what you're doing. I think you need to overcome that and go, hey.
It is a strange thing, actually, the whole asking for help is being seen as a sign of weakness. But when it was, no, asking for help isn't a sign of weakness. It's showing that you actually have the determination to keep things moving.
Yeah, and that, I think we've been kind of geared to think a certain way, where if you just step back and take another lens, it's not weakness. It's knowledge that you know when you need help. It's determination that you will do everything you can to get to where you go. You know, so it's just how you look at the situation, and then you just got to change the mindset that asking for help isn't.
No, and weakness. The knowledge that you have isn't yours either, right? Like it's something that someone bestowed onto you, that you got it from someone else.
Yeah.
And now you're just passing it on to the next.
Definitely.
No, that's part of that growth, man. That's and you know, you take that with you on the way, and then
hopefully tell someone who is at the start of their journey so they save time. Yeah.
I think that's it there, you know, like the ones that are at the start, and you know that you're at a point where there's just a million different ways things can go. But it's a matter of then just taking that first step and then fucking that up. And then it's like, shit, what do I need to do? Who do I need to call on to overcome that? Yeah.
The other thing is to learn that, you know, mistakes and failures will always happen. And that's part of the deal. You just got to, well, not embrace it, just try not to make the same mistake again. And then make a lot of mistakes, make them early, move forward.
So what's coming up now for yourself and for Isadora Nim?
So the idea would be to employ like more women. So at the moment I've got, you know, one on like the part-time, so when things get a little much. Basically it's to grow my brand. So I can be in a position to actually be away a little more.
Yeah.
You know,
be a little hands off, be a bit more hands off.
Yeah, that's the next step. You know, I would like to spend more time like with my partner in Europe. We want to spend chunks of the year there, if not like a year or two. So to implement things that will make that a reality. And then the things that will make that a reality, we want to ingrain it with the way, the ethos and the core values of the business, to hire the right people to not only help grow the business but help women.
Yeah.
That's the next step, and then ideally, you know, world domination.
World domination.
Yeah.
Cool. Where can people find you on your socials? What are your socials?
So Instagram is Isadora Isadora_Nim NIM. That's Instagram. Same deal with Facebook.
Yeah.
And then the website is isadoranim.com.
Cool. Dude, thanks for your time, man.
Pleasure. This has been a lovely experience.
Yeah. Thanks, mate. We'll wrap it up here.